And then the big one, there's two pretty big ones in the evening slots on Sunday. Cowboys and Bills is a big one. The Cowboys have moved into the number 2 seed. They're in first place in the NFC East. They're probably the hottest team in football right now.
Yeah.
But they've been doing a lot of that at home. They've been doing a lot of their good work at home. They've had a nice stretch there. Their winning streak, home against the Giants, at Carolina, so that doesn't count. Home against Washington, home against Seattle, home against Philly. Next 2 games on the road against Buffalo, at Miami Dolphins, and then coming back home for Detroit. This is a big test for the Dallas Cowboys, and the Buffalo Bills need this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is going to be a phenomenal game. According to the EPA metric, this is the number 2 versus the number 4 offense in football this season. They're definitely a team that both these teams have quarterbacks playing at incredibly high levels. The Cowboys defense is significantly better than the Bills, but the Bills have been trending up a little bit. I think this could be a similar game to the fireworks and offensive explosion that we saw Eagles-Bills earlier, where maybe one of the games of the year, Scott. I mean, that one was phenomenal. Maybe the Ravens last week too is another one, but this is a Titan matchup. This is one that if we simulated the rest of the season or the beginning of the season, 1,000 times, this would be a Super Bowl matchup in a handful of outcomes. So I think I'll go with the Bills in this one, playing at home. I think desperation is key in this one. I think that even though Dak is my MVP in a 1-game thing, I might take Josh Allen over everybody not named Patrick Mahomes. He comes down to the turnovers, but they're playing good football. If the Bills weren't such a mess defensively, he might even be the MVP. It's hard to do with the turnovers, but it's just all the metrics are phenomenal. He's playing quarterback. I think he's playing quarterback better than he has previously as well. So I'm going to go with the Bills in this one. I don't love it. All I can say for sure is I'm excited beyond belief to watch this one.
There's some similarities to this game and the one we previewed earlier with Detroit Lions and Denver Broncos, in that if Detroit takes care of the ball, I think they win. The difference with the Dallas Cowboys is Josh Allen can take care of the ball and they can still lose because Dallas is really good. So the difference for this one is if Jared Allen does not take care of the ball, they will lose because Dallas will beat them. For them to have a chance, and it's better than a chance, but for them to win this game, I know it sounds obvious, but you're going against a guy who's got 5 pick sixes. You got Micah Parsons out there. Dan Quinn's defense is taking the ball away from than anybody else over like the last 3 years. They're leading the league in takeaways. And you got a guy who is prone to giving the ball away in Josh Allen. If he takes the only way that they win this game, they cannot win this game with a negative turnover ratio. Yeah. And even if they have a positive, there's no guarantee, because I think Dallas on a neutral field right now is better than the Buffalo Bills. I think they're a more complete team. I think they're playing better. But I think Buffalo is desperate. They're playing well and they're desperate. That's a pretty good combination if you're the Buffalo Bills.
And one thing also about this Bills team is, and we've started to see it with the Broncos game that they had, but they're starting to figure out that this Cook guy they have at running back is something that they can feature a lot and take some of the pressure off of Allen, not getting all the hits constantly. So, I mean, last week, the Bills had a 0.12 EPA per play gain off of the run game per play. Cook with a 0.17 EPA gained per play, which is just, you typically have a negative EPA if you run just baseline, because passing is so much more efficient than rushing the football. You're more likely to get big plays. I won't say explosives, Charlie. So I'm curious to see what this new balanced team that's making teams think a little bit more about the rushing attack with how they can get big plays off the running game too is going to look. I mean, I think we talked about it. Also, I'm still don't quite understand how the Broncos beat the Bills, because I think the Bills punted like maybe once in the game. They were scoring. It was score or turnover. Yeah, it's so, I don't know, man. The outside the Ravens, the Bills are the team that scares me the most in the AFC, and because they're desperate too, and they also, I mean, you give an NFL team or any football team the slightest chip as far as feeling adversity, they'll do it. And even though it's self-brought adversity with this whole Sean McDermott 9/11 stuff, they're rallying around it. And yes, you can find it. Teams will manufacture this anytime they can, looking to get that chip on the shoulder or something. They'll convince themselves. They'll almost gaslight themselves into believing some stuff to get that chip and that energy. So I think Bills are going to win, but it's going to be a hell of a game. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm looking forward to watching this one, and I will probably go. I mean, Gamecast on ESPN has this thing 50-50. It's basically the Bills are a favorite based on being at home. It's a 2-point favorite. It's hard to believe, the Cowboys are road dogs, but they are. I think the difference is the Bills need this one more. I think if this is a playoff game, I'd probably pick the Cowboys, but there's just that tiny little bit of, hey, the margins are so thin that a 1% difference in impetus and we have to have this game, I think makes the difference. So I'm going to go with the Bills on this one, and we will see. FC Donnelly says, I don't see it. Dallas is going to kill the Bills. That might drive a stake in the Buffalo Bills. That might end it for them. And that's kind of why, you get a team like this. See it in baseball. You say it about your St. Louis Cardinals one, on a tier run. I said, you need a stake in holy water to put these guys down. That might be what it takes. And, Micah Parsons and Dak Prescott coming north could be that stake in holy water.
And I'm really curious to see about the leadership on these teams, because honestly, both these teams had their biggest monkey off their back last week. You have the Cowboys beating emphatically and getting that matchup versus the Eagles, where the Eagles have owned them the last 2-3 years. That's a matchup that they had to have. And then you had the Bills going into Arrowhead and beating KC, who's definitely been the boogeyman for the Bills here as of late. So I mean, I guess maybe the Bengals also a boogeyman for the Bills, but that's a big benchmark for both these teams. So how do these teams refocus and play better ball after the emotional exodus that's not the word I'm looking for, the emotional output burst that you see after you beat those two teams? I'm going to be fascinated. I don't know. I think the Bills are really scary. I'm pulling for the Cowboys in this one. I want the Bills, it's like Jeepers Creepers where you run them over once and it's like, okay, now back up the car. He's already dead. They're never dead. Get the Bills out of the playoffs. They scare the hell out of me. But should be a good game.